pencils. This is the Prismacolor Premier Ebony Jet Black, number 14420. So switching up, trying out something new. See how this one goes today. We'll be drawing some Princess Bride today, right? It'll be really cool. This was a sketch request from a fan on Facebook. So let's jump in and do it. Tuesdays and Thursdays are my normal sketch days, but today, Wednesday, I'm just going to fill in with a couple. So we might do 2, we might do 3. We'll just see how it goes. But we'll start out with this Princess Bride, and I'm testing out the new pencil, see how I like it. Trying to get the eyes and the face details looking good. But so far, I'm happy. It seems this ebony might be slightly more gray than the regular Prismacolor black that I was using. But the nice thing about these ebony pencils is that you can get them in bulk from Amazon. So I think it's like a dozen, or maybe it's a 20 pack or something. And real nice art pencil, and a much more reasonable price to buy a pack of them than to just buy like 1 or 2 of the regular black pencils. So we'll see how this goes today. It looks like it should be a pretty nice pencil to work with. Hey Ebony, good to see, or Evan, good to see you there, and good to see you also, Fleur de Villani. I know who you are, also known as Icy. Thanks for joining us today. So this one should be fun. If you're a Princess Bride fan, let me know in the chat. It's my first time drawing these characters. My friend Spencer did a really cool Fezzik poster a few years ago. But it's my first time drawing these characters, so it was a nice sketch request to have come in, and hopefully we'll have fun with it. And then, like I was saying, we'll probably do at least 2 drawings today. Since it's not one of my regular stream days, I don't think we'll do 3. We'll probably just do 2. Good to see you, Squishbuck. Glad to know it's one of your favorite films as well. Yeah, I just love Princess Bride. I mean, not only a great film, but so many great characters, and what a great cast too, you know. So, like I said at the beginning, I'm trying out these new ebony pencil. See how I like it compared to the regular Prismacolor black. So far, so good. I think it's got a little bit more of a sheen to it. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think once we get some marker and some pen ink and stuff on here, I don't know that it's going to make any difference really. So what's everybody's favorite scene from Princess Bride? I mean, there's so many good ones. I can't even think of how many times I've seen the film over the years, but I really haven't seen it in a while. I mean, talk about one to go back and watch during the quarantine. This would be a good one. Well, I appreciate everyone joining me today. It's so much fun doing these sketches. There's some really cool ones coming up, so I think I have I have this Princess Bride one, and I have a Resident Evil one that we'll probably do today, and then I'll be sort of caught up to the last time I opened the list, and we'll start on some of those. And there's some really, really fun ones coming up. including some mashups, which I'm looking forward to. I think now that we're a few weeks in, people are getting more and more creative with their sketch request, which makes it really fun for me. Does the entire film count? That's pretty funny. I think the entire film can count as your favorite, but Mostly Dead, yeah, that is good. So we'll just get in here and just do the contour lines for these figures. I think we can have some fun with the hair on both of these guys with the brush pen. Should work good on both of them. I think the hard thing about this composition was I wanted to really make sure to show the size difference between the two of them. So I wanted to get them posed in such a way that they were, I kind of had thought about a couple of ideas, like a face-to-face or back-to-back. But at the end I thought maybe if Andre the Giant or Fezzik was standing in front, then that would kind of help show the size difference between the two of them. Hi Yoda Mom. Thanks for joining us today, Florida Villainy. IC, do you have a, are you streaming on here? Should I tell people to be following you as well? Oh, thank you. Okay. I won't talk to you then if you're in the middle of something else. If you get done with your conference, then let us know and we'll chat some more. But for everybody else, Florida Villainy, she does costuming and artwork and cosplay, and so you can check her out on Facebook for sure. I don't know if she's streaming on Twitch or not, but she can chime in and tell us. She has some really cool stuff, so be sure to check her out. No talent for Yodamon? I bet you have some hidden talents we don't know about. I find a lot of people who claim to not be talented are just modest. Yes, you're right. Misha is super talented. You should be proud. I'm sure you are. So far, the only interesting thing I'm noticing about this pencil is the point maybe doesn't stay as sharp as the other pencil for as long. So it could be like a softer lead. We'll see how that affects things or not. Very hidden. Hey, Decidius, we haven't seen you around here for a few days. Good to see you. So, you missed out on some really cool sketches yesterday. Today we're doing Princess Bride and then probably Resident Evil. And then tomorrow we'll get back to our sort of regularly scheduled programming. These two for today, I'm definitely looking forward to them, but since they weren't Star Wars, they were starting to fall through the cracks a little bit, and I thought, well, I better just take a day and do these two, because I don't want to have people waiting forever and ever. And I have some other ones I'm ready to get to, so we'll kill two birds with one stone here. Alright, so we've got kind of the outlines done, and then we can start working on some of the details here. I know I want the vest here to be mostly black, so start to rough in some of these areas. Do some like shirt details on him. Oh, you got your Ahsoka in the mail. I'm so glad to see that. Thank you. It's fun. I'm having so much fun with everyone's sketch request. You guys have no idea what this means to me. You're keeping me busy, keeping me out of trouble, and helping me work to become a better artist and more active socially too. So I appreciate it. I'm glad to see everybody posting up their favorite moments and quotes from Princess Bride. Such a great one. So I'm kind of going for like a more of a graphic element here. We'll just do a lot of black on the vest and the character. Hopefully that'll help push the attention up towards the face. And then maybe just a little bit of like a rim light along the top edge of the shoulder there. I think that'll end up working pretty well. And then on Andre, or Fezzik, I really want like this whole right side of him to be in like just a lot of shadow. And that'll help show his size, you know, having really illuminated on the left and a lot of shadow on the right. And Decidius, I'm glad you liked that Ahsoka, and you know, I think since I did yours and I did one other, I've got a couple more Ahsoka requests now, so I definitely think that's one that as people see the character more, they're like, oh, I want one of those. I like her. So that was a good call. I'm really excited. I have one coming up, Dio droid from Rise of Skywalker. It'll be the first time I've drawn Dio, so that'll be a fun one. Probably try to sneak that one in tomorrow. Maybe as either the warm up or the cool down. So you can see with Fezzik, I'm going to do like a lot of shadow on this side. Maybe just let a couple little folds of the shirt peek through over here. And probably some shadow where the arm and the torso meet. So maybe something over here. And that way we'll sort of get like the big blocked in form of these guys. It should work out pretty well. So how everybody's day going? It's been a weird one here for me today. I kind of feel like the day got away from me. We've got some road construction out in front of the house, and it's been very disruptive, and big dump trucks and asphalt machines and police cars, and I kind of feel like it's all just been a weird day. So it's nice to have a few calm moments to be able to sit down and really just focus on the artwork. Because it's definitely a challenge when there's all those disruptions going on. Oh, good. I'm glad that you're happy about how your Ahsoka turned out. It was so much fun. And it was, you know, it's the first time I'd done that version of the character too, which is always fun and challenging. All right, so. And again, I know some of you are buying art supplies, so this is the one I'm trying out today. It's the Prismacolor Ebony 14420. So I don't know if I have a final verdict on it or not, but we're testing it out. Keep thinking it's Thursday. Well, I'm ready for it to be Thursday, especially after the way today has been going. But well, hopefully Thursday will just be more productive. I'm besides sketching, I've been volunteering my time to help design some face masks, and I've been working on some art for a museum, trying to help them out. Kind of doing all sorts of things that are outside of my normal comfort zone, and it's been challenging and fun for sure, but it's not like the Star Wars art and the comic book art where I sort of wake up every day and have my comfort zone, my normal, where I know how everything's going to go. So some days go more smoothly than others. That's right. Inconceivable. Good to see you on here, Kevin. I know there's so many great one-liners in this film. Alright, I gotta get in really tight to get these eyeballs nice and small. Hopefully my head's not too much in the drawing. Well, I'll say one thing for this new pencil is I think it takes the pen brush really well. Really well. So that part I definitely like. Yeah, the pen brush just kind of glides across there. That's pretty nice. I'm so nearsighted to do those little face details. I just have to take my glasses off and stick my head down real close to the paper. Otherwise, it would just be blobs of ink, let me tell you. How's the kitten? Oh, hi Dutch. The cat's doing really good. Indio is doing really, really well. She's turned into the biggest cat I've ever seen. I mean, she's barely 6 months old. And she just kind of goes between, my wife and I call it demon mode. So she's normally like really sweet and docile, and she loves to be held, and she's kind of a lap kitten. But when she's feeling extra playful and frisky, she goes into what I call demon mode, and she just teeth and claws everywhere, So, what is Octopolis? Octopolis is really just a combination of the words octopus and metropolis. And years ago, as part of Hi-Fi Design, the comic book studio that I co-own, we would go to, well, we still go to lots of comic book conventions, just not this year. And the problem with going to comic book conventions as a colorist, at least back then, was we didn't really have anything to sell. I tried even just giving away comics, but then the retailers got mad about that, which makes sense. So I said, okay, I understand. I would just do an autograph and give people a comic book. And the retailer said, no, that hurts our business. I said, okay, that makes sense. And I couldn't really sell prints of the art that I'd worked on because it wasn't just my art. It was like a penciler and an inker and me. And this is before you saw print walls and everything at Comic Cons. And sometimes the booth fees can be multiple thousands of dollars, and so we needed some way to recoup some of that cost. And so I started making art prints. And I think the first show that would have been maybe Emerald City Comic Con. Oh no, I did one with DC before that, so maybe the San Diego Con before that. But anyway, I was doing stuff mostly with galleries, which is what I still do. And the galleries get the license, and then I'll make the artwork, and we'll debut it at the gallery, and I'll get a handful of those prints that I can sell at Comic Cons and stuff. And so because Hi-Fi was already established, I had two goals, which was, one, I wanted to make sure I was getting illustration work based on my own skills and talents, and not because of work I'd done for Marvel and DC. So I didn't want my own artwork to be under the Hi-Fi banner. And two, I didn't want to be in a position where Marvel or DC or any of my Hi-Fi clients saw my artwork as a competition or a distraction or a threat or anything. So I wanted to just keep them separate. And because this art print thing was new and unproven, and we didn't really know that it was going to blow up and become a thing, I just needed a name to put on the application for, or not the application, the booth for Emerald City. And my wife really likes squid and octopus, and she collects a lot of that stuff, and I was looking for a unique name, and so I came up with Octopolis by mixing octopus and metropolis, and I thought that sounded unique and interesting, and I could get the domain name and all that stuff. And so I did, and I really, unfortunately, didn't put much thought into the fact that some people wouldn't know how to pronounce it, or it would seem awkward to type or to say or anything, because it wasn't really ever going to be a thing. So but that's how it started. And so all these years later, Octopolis is still where you can find all my art prints and everything. And so anything that I do that's my own artwork, whether it's a sketch or a original painting or an art print or something like that, is under the Octopolis umbrella. And everything else to do with comic books and coloring is under Hi-Fi. So, but it's a small world. They cross paths occasionally. But for the first 5 years or so, I don't think very many people knew that there was any connection. I mean, I didn't promote it or publicize it or anything. I guess anyone who knows me knows I'm the worst at self-promotion anyway. So I was getting a Facebook message from a friend last night, and he was telling me that how bad I am at self-promotion, and I need to grow my ego a bit and be a little bit more bold. And I just don't know that it's in my personality. I'm sure I suffer because of it, but it's really hard for me to brag on myself and all that. Yeah, sorry, there's no deeper meaning to it, but it has personal meaning, especially to my wife. And now I get to come up with fun octopus-related designs. All right, starting to rough that out. I think I might go ahead and fill in some of the black areas over here before we outline this, so that I'm not dragging my hand through it later. You wish you knew how to pimp yourself out. Yeah, I hear that. I'm the worst. I mean, I'm the kind of person I like to think that the work speaks for itself. And to an extent, that's true. I mean, I usually don't seek out gigs or projects or anything like that. They tend to all happen organically, which I think is good. But at the same time, my friend who was yelling at me was showing me an artist who is on Etsy, and everything she has is bootleg. And I mean, there's obviously some talent there, and I would say that nothing I saw was like a direct copy of my work, but based on the dates, you know, it seemed like, let's just say that this artist was inspired by Karen Hallian and inspired by Brian Miller, and inspired by a few other people, and it seemed like they were releasing their artwork, you know, 2 weeks or a month after official artists were releasing things that were very similar. And you know, the official artist is usually limited to selling, you know, 10 APs, and that's it, right? So the amount of money that they make from an official piece of artwork is very limited. And this bootleg artist, who again, I'm not dissing their talent, they have talent, they're just not going through the proper channels. And you know, we saw that this person, she had already sold like 10,000 posters on her Etsy site at $25 a piece, and you can do the math on that and understand that, you know, this bootleg artist is making 10 or 20 times, you know, more selling their artwork than an official artist would, and they're not paying Lucasfilm or Disney a royalty or anything like that. So you know, that kind of stuff can be frustrating for those of us that make an attempt to play by the rules, but I guess it is what it is. So I was joking with my friend, though. I said, oh, well, I've made bad life choices, you know. Oh, is Quinch Press on there? Oh, 10,247 sales. Well, thanks for correcting that. Good to see you on there. We were just talking about you. Let's see here. So I'm debating, I think, I can't decide how I want to do these shadow colors here. I think I'll do this one all black, and then when I get over here, I might do his more like a 80 or 90%. So we got some distinction. So yeah, Quinch Press, we're talking about artist and ability or lack of ability to promote oneself. And I was talking a little bit about our conversation last night, and you were kind of trying to give me a kick in the pants and encourage me to be more proactive on the self-promotion and that sort of thing. And I certainly don't disagree. It's just something I need to work on. It's not in my normal wheelhouse to be like, look at me, I'm an awesome artist, you know, that kind of stuff. That's not who I am. So it's I have to work on that and find ways to promote myself with, like, you know, humility and integrity and that kind of thing. But hopefully I'll figure it out. But right now, I'm just thankful for all of you guys that want to come and watch me sketch and hang out on the chat. It really means a lot to me. That's right, inconceivable. I think every person who joins the chat is going to put that line in there. So yeah, we're doing Princess Bride first today, and then Resident Evil second. And I haven't drawn Alice from Resident Evil in years and years and years. I think I did like a painted cover for an IDW comic years ago, but it's been so long, I don't even know. But it's not even the same version of the character, I know that, so it'll be fun. We'll get a couple of these interesting sketches done today, and then I think tomorrow we'll be back on some Star Wars. And like I said, I might have a couple of interesting mashups and things coming too, so those will be fun. Imitation is not the sincerest form of flattery. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think every artist, for the most part, most of the artists I know are like good people, and they're just trying to survive. And I think the real scammers are the ones that drive me crazy, or when they're just making copies of other artists' work. we were at a convention one year and the fire alarm was pulled. And so as we're all exiting the building, I see this guy with a hand truck, and he's wheeling out just stacks and stacks of this Star Wars art. And it's in like 3 different sizes, and it's all wrapped and ready to sell. And I recognized a couple of things right off the fact. I recognized that I know the artist who created the illustration, and this isn't him. I know the illustration sold out in one day through the gallery that it was commissioned through. And I know the illustration was only created in 1 size, not 3 sizes. So that's when I'm like, okay, well, this person is just a pirate. And that's what annoys me. It's when they're stealing from other artists. Because it's rough, most of us are just trying to be creative and work on the things that we're passionate about. And we're not trying to be millionaires or anything like that. We're just trying to survive, and other people can just come along and steal it all away. Thanks, Flirtability. Hey, Flirtability, if you turn up your volume, let us know if you are streaming on Twitch as well, and everyone can give you a follow. Hey, Decidius, I see we've got the automated chat bot on here, but you didn't do anything wrong, so don't worry about it. I'll have to go in and disable that, at least until we get some actual bad people. Yeah, thanks, Decidius. I don't know. I try to be a live and let live kind of person. Like, people think that I'm going to get mad when we're at Star Wars Celebration and people are selling our stuff on eBay. I'm like, as long as they really bought it legitimately, if they want to try to mark it up or whatever, that's on them. But as long as it's the real print. But yeah, those people that are making copies, that's another story. So let's talk about some good news. What's some positive things happening for everybody this week? I know it's been, we're all in lockdown and quarantine, but it can't all be bad news all the time, right? There's got to be some good things happening. I know yesterday we were talking about some of the fun kind of virtual happy hours and stuff like that. Is there anybody who's made any new friends or joined any new groups that they might not have found any other way? I don't know, some kind of good vibes. Silence from the chat. Like, no, it's all doom and gloom. We have no good vibes. Has anybody heard of this virtual PopCon that's coming up? Yes, a lot more artists are starting to stream. That's been one good thing to come out of this. I think all of us, well, not all, but a lot of us pros, I can't speak for anybody else, but like, I know for myself and for Joe Caroni for sure, we've talked about it for years and years and years. And when you're busy making the art, there's just only so many hours in the day, or you get tired, or you whatever excuse you want to come up with, you just, I'll start streaming in 6 months, or I'll start streaming a year from now. But with most of us being essentially unemployed, it has been a cool thing to see so many artists hopping on to stream their art or to do demos or talk about their process, or even some of the comic book artists that have been sketching and raising money for some of the comic shops and stuff. I mean, it's kind of nice to see the community come together a little bit, kind of special. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, someone was asking on here yesterday about me streaming some comic book stuff, and I was just thinking, I don't think most of the stuff I work on is, 3 months, 6 months ahead of before it's published, so I really couldn't stream it live without probably getting in some sort of trouble. So that's why doing the sketches and that kind of stuff's probably easier for all of us. What's going on with comic and comic artist? Yeah, I can explain it. I don't know how much I'll comment on it though, but just let me get these face details real quick here. So I think what a pandemic like this shows us is how interconnected everything is, and early on in the pandemic, Diamond Comics, which are the distributor of comic books, they shut down. And so, they're like, we're not going to distribute comics to the retail stores anymore. And so then a lot of the retail stores either shut down because of like state mandate, right? They can't have people in their stores, or shut down because there's no product to be had anyway, because the distributor said they're not going to distribute any more product. So that's kind of how it started. Since then, it got kind of fractured, and people have taken sides as they're wont to do. Now, my own personal opinion is that this industry is way too small to be divided. And so I think any sort of division in the comic book industry is just dangerous, because at the end of the day, there can be a comic book industry or there could be no comic book industry, but what there probably can't be is like two comic book industries. It's just probably not possible. But essentially, because the distributor decided to stop distributing comics, everyone kind of said, well, that's it, no more comics. And so then the part that, I don't want to say no one, the part that some people didn't consider is that the comic book industry is in a perfect situation for people to work from home as far as the creative people, right? So, the publishers have armies of artists and writers who are already working from home and who thought they would continue to be working from home. But what happened was, out of solidarity for the comic shops and out of, I don't want to say the word fear, but as a response to the distributor saying that they weren't going to distribute the comics, some of the publishers said, well, we will just put our pencils down and not produce any comics until this is over. And for some people, this was a good thing, because they felt like the comic industry was acting in solidarity, right? We are not going to make or sell or produce any comics until the crisis is over and everyone can consume comic books again. And that sounds nice. That's fine. But like all these things, it's hard to get everyone to agree on something. And so DC Comics said, we're afraid that if we wait this thing out, there won't be a comic book industry. And we believe that doing nothing, and I don't mean like doing nothing, but producing nothing is the wrong move. And so they got together with a couple of existing mail order comic houses, and they set up an East Coast and West Coast distribution. And they told the comic shops, if you want comic product, we're going to continue to make it, and if Diamond won't distribute it, you can come get it from one of these two distributors. And so I honestly believe that DC it was acting in good faith, and they're just trying to keep the industry going. They're trying to keep artists working, and they're trying to keep writers working, and they're trying to keep the comic shops who had a way to sell their comics in business. And their thought process is, we should be trying to be proactive and not just wait and see what happens. And some comic shops had been doing, curbside pickup, or they were sending their comics through the mail, or some other way that did not involve people coming into their stores. So some retailers had continued to operate in some way, shape, or form. The problem is that the minute DC made this announcement, it kind of split a lot of these retailers into two camps of the ones who supported this and the ones who didn't. So it's unfortunate that there's been some division, and obviously there's been suffering all through the industry. The comic publishers are suffering because they're not making income if they're not producing comics. The comic creators like myself are suffering because they're not making any income if there's no comics to be made. And the retailers who choose to be open in some way, shape, or form are suffering because they don't have any product to sell. So it's been very tricky for our industry, for sure. And I don't know that, history will determine who has the right answer here, or which system ends up helping people out more, I guess. In the meantime, though, creators like Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee and some others have been doing some really great fundraising for the comic shops that are currently hurting, and they've been doing sketches and auctioning them off for large sums of money to help these comic shops, which I think is a fantastic thing. And I've seen some people say, well, what about the creators? And as a creator myself, I can certainly relate to that. But I think that Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and whoever else, if they want to raise money for the comic shops, that's their prerogative, and good for them for doing so. And if somebody else wants to raise money for creators, that's fine too. But it doesn't have to be one or the other. I mean, we're all one industry, and yeah, I have to disable that Streamlabs chatbot. It's no good. It's a small industry, so we have to all work together, and we have to all fail or succeed together, because there's really no other scenario. I mean, digital comics are definitely a part of it, but we know at least 50% of all comics being sold are still traditional print comics. So anyone who thinks there's an industry without retail, at least at this point, is fooling themselves. So we're all in it together. We really are. And fans, creators, publishers, the retailers. And the crisis has brought out the best in some people and the worst in others. And hopefully we all just get through it somehow. I know that was a long answer, but hopefully it answered your question. Yeah, I'm with you, Florida Villainy. I've been watching more streaming too. So not just streaming myself, but watching more streams, and that's been really fun. I've become quite addicted to a couple of different artists, and it's fun to see, especially people who maybe aren't comic book artists, how they approach all this and what they're doing differently. That wasn't too long. Okay, well that's good to know. Yeah, right. I will hey Fleur-de-Ville, I'll be sure to disable that chat bot before the next stream. I think up until now the chat's been active but not as many people at the same time, and so it's the first time I've seen it jump in and yell at people, and it's kind of silly. So we don't have any problems yet, so I can just disable it until such time as we do. Yeah, it's never popped up before, has it, Decidius? Yeah. I don't know why it decided. It probably has some trigger based on the number of people chatting or something. I don't know. Or there was a software update yesterday or the day before, so maybe that triggered it. I'm not sure. I'm so new still at all this that I'm just like, chatbot, what? I'm gonna grab another black marker. This one's giving me some streaks. Give me just a second, guys. All right, let's try this one. Yeah, I hear you, Kevin. You know, I've been working from home since I think 2004 or 2005, somewhere in there. Before that, Hi-Fi had a studio, and you know, I think a lot of us were kind of already prepared to work from home, so it's kind of weird that some of the industries that already worked from home are the ones that aren't working right now. It seems kind of counterintuitive, but I guess that's, you know, as artists and creators, we're just the grunts, it seems like, so we just have to follow orders or make our own way, and I think that's what a lot of us are trying to do right now, is just make our own way. I've noticed a lot of artists who would normally be exclusive to like Marvel or DC are popping up on some other publishers' titles that you might normally not see them on, and it'll be interesting to see when all this is over, you know, if the big names are able to get them back or if they were able to cut some better deals. So the whole landscape is probably going to change to some way, shape, or form. So being as we have so many creative people on here, oh, Bob Ross, yeah. So you have to let me know if you guys remember William Alexander. He was, I think he was Bob Ross's teacher, or at least they were contemporaries, I'm not sure. But he was the big German guy. He was the one with the almighty brush. And I remember watching William Alexander paint on PBS as a kid before Bob Ross. I mean, he was on before Bob Ross, I guess. And he was this crazy German guy. He was so fun to watch. So if Bob Ross is like calming and makes you feel good about yourself, William Alexander was the opposite, right? He was just kind of like, you suck, you need to learn to paint. So it was like a dichotomy. I think the reason I remember that is I grew up in a really small town, and the only place to get art supplies was like Walmart, and they always had the William Alexander art supplies. Oh, you've never been a painter? Well, I started out as a painter. So oils and acrylics and a lot of airbrush and stuff, and so that was kind of my foundational stuff, was painting. All right, so we've got the main blacks worked out here, so now we can get in and start thinking about some of the shading and stuff. I'm probably going to make a mess by starting with all the dark shadows, but that's kind of what I like to do sometimes. I think some of this we won't even really need to get in with the pencil too much. So you just like grab a gray value and start to work in some folds in the clothing and stuff here. I try not to rotate the paper around too much. Yeah, I hear you, Evan. I think anytime there's a big change in technology or a big change in finance or anything like that, a big crisis, it can definitely shake things up. And it might definitely create some new and different opportunities. You know, I always say about comic books is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I know that's a cliche that's used for lots of businesses, but it's definitely true of comics. And it seems like whenever we have a crisis of any sort, that sort of forces the hands of certain people that they either, you know, give up and quit or are forced out by some medical or health problem or fiscal problem, or figure out a way to thrive and survive. And it's a challenge, and it'll definitely create new and different situations when it's all over. You know, you were talking about, Kevin, you were talking about watching Bob Ross, and I think as a little kid, the thing about watching painters like Bob Ross and William Alexander, the message that I really took from a lot of that was this understanding that you're not trying to do this like photoreal, paint every leaf on the tree approach. They were able to take the tools that they had and create like the illusion of believability or the illusion of reality. You know, one stroke of the fan brush could create like a whole branch of a tree or something like that, you know. And that was a really powerful message for me to learn as a kid and an aspiring artist. And I think that's a message that I've tried to apply like my whole career so far. A limited amount of channels. Yeah, I hear that. I grew up in a house where I was only allowed to watch public television or Christian television. And so for me, the public television won out most of the time. So that's how I saw things like Bob Ross, and if I stayed up late enough, Monty Python, Doctor Who. I joke, I'm like, all the things that I got beat up on the playground for as a kid are all the things that I get paid for now as an adult. They're all are super popular now, you know. But when I was a kid, like the lamest thing you could be into was probably Doctor Who, and I loved it. Yeah, I agree with that. Like the thing about Bob Ross being on television is it was super relatable, and you kind of felt like, you know, either he was coming into your home every day or you were getting to visit his studio or whatever, you know, however you think of that. And you're watching him from the comfort of your home, and it starts to feel like a bond. It's interesting how he connected with so many people. As long as you had a pencil and paper. Yeah, right. I know, man. I hear you. Just being able to escape into your art when life's problems were either bogging down your parents or bogging you down or wherever it is. Just be able to go and draw or paint or be creative. That's what it was about. Isn't it funny, the things that affect us or have an effect on us our whole lives from the time we were so young. Just want a little bit more shadow under his eyelid here. Well, we have so many creative people. What's everybody working on right now, or watching, or reading, or binging? Commander Mark. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about Commander Mark. Was he the one that drew on the wall? Is that right? Wow, that's a blast from the past right there. Let me know if that's right. If he was the one that drew on the wall. I think that was him. Kevin says he has 6 card sets to do. Well, that's good. That's really good. The Murdoch Mysteries. I've seen the Miss Fisher Mysteries. I don't know about the Murdoch Mysteries. Coloring Spider-Man. That's good. Good. Oh, Commander Mark was the one that drew on the wall. Okay, I do remember that. Man, I love that. I forgot all about that. I could see there being like a spoofy Netflix series about a Commander Mark type of person now. Because as much as I love that show as a kid, that's the type of thing that media seems enamored with making fun of right now. He was your inspiration to be an artist, Commander Mark? Yeah. I do remember watching him and liking him quite a bit. I would say my main inspiration was probably Don Bluth. I think I saw Secret of NIMH as a kid, and not when it was a new release, but it was I don't know if it was like in Kansas City we had the dollar show when movies were like old and almost ready to retire from the movies, the screens. And I remember it was like a double feature, and so I don't know if it was the dollar show or if it was like years after it came out, but it was The Secret of NIMH, and then it was Don Knotts and Tim Conway, whatever movie they made that was in like a haunted house. The Detectives or the Inspectors or something like that. And man, when I saw Secret of NIMH, I mean, I'd always loved cartoons and I love Disney cartoons, but when I saw Secret of NIMH, that just changed my whole little, I don't know how old I was, 5 or 6 years old, just changed my whole world view on art and animation and the detail level of the backgrounds and all that sort of stuff. And then yeah, later I discovered his video games and stuff, but that was it for me. I mean, I'd always wanted to draw as a kid, like that was my favorite thing to do, but after Secret of NIMH, that was it. And so I was really fortunate enough, I got to meet Don Bluth a bunch of times at San Diego Comic-Con, and I've got some drawings and sketches and stuff that he's done for me, and a couple of posters he and Gary signed for me. But then like years later, I got to work with him on one of the Dragon's Lair comic book covers, and so Don sketched it out like he does. He's so good. If you've ever seen him draw, you can just name any character that he's ever worked on and he can just draw it right out of his head. And so he sketched it out, this Dragon's Lair cover, and then I took it in Photoshop and kind of went over his drawing and made it into like a painted cover. And it was definitely a dream come true. Yeah, Land Before Time. That's another good one. So, yeah, I think, you know, we all have like that teacher, that artist, that filmmaker, whoever it was, you know, that had some big impact on us and helped guide us to the thing it is that we love to do, whether that be, you know, artwork or pastry chef or tiki god or whatever it is. We've all got those influences for sure. So I'm just using the marker here to just kind of sketch out some of these little folds and wrinkles and stuff. Can I post that cover? Well, I'd have to find it, but I keep thinking it was when Arcana had the license, and my buddy Val Staples, who used to work at Hi-Fi when we had a studio, he had the license for a while, and I think what Arcana did was they ended up doing like a collection of all the ones that Val had done plus all the ones that Arcana had done. And I think what we did was the cover for that hardcover or soft cover collection, I'm not sure which. Has anyone done the 6 fan arts challenge yet? You know what, I'll be honest that I haven't, because I've been so busy with these sketches, but I've seen some really good ones. I thought J. Scott Campbell like really did a fantastic job with his, and I've seen some others that are really good too, but no, I haven't done it myself. Oh, you're working on yours. So Quench, Murdoch Mysteries, is that on a specific channel or service or something? I haven't heard of that one yet. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, no, I haven't done the 6 fan arts challenge, but I've been very entertained by everyone who has so far, and even people I know who aren't artists. So those are some of the most fun, as a matter of fact, because they don't have any hang-ups about themselves, so they just do it, which is kind of cool. I mean, J. Scott Campbell's, I mean, those things were like freaking masterpieces. Okay, Streamlabs, you're drunk, Mr. Chatbot. Don't worry, Quench Press, we're going to kill that chatbot between now and tomorrow. It is not going to be a problem. You guys just keep posting what you're posting and keep being active and ignore that, because I'm having a blast chatting with you guys. So there are definitely no repercussions. Oh, so you took all the suggestions for your fan arts and you threw them all in a hat, and you're going to do like random drawings. That's cool. That's a good way to do it. Well, last year, I don't know which of you guys were following me closely then, but you know, I talked about being busy and stuff, and so I had always wanted to do Inktober, and I'm like, oh, I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. And so last year I said, I'm going to do it. And Adobe had just announced their new iPad software. I can't even think what it's called. The one that was supposed to replace Sketch and Draw. Fresco, Adobe Fresco. I said, all right, I'm going to do Inktober, and I'm going to do the whole thing in Fresco. And then, like, I don't know, 7 or 10 days into it, I fell out of a tree and put a branch through my hand, and my drawing days were over for about 5 or 6 weeks. So I still have not completed an Inktober challenge, which is frustrating to say the least. All right, do a little bit more shading. So what do you guys think? Is it starting to look like Fezzik? Getting our Princess Bride on here. Trying to get some nice shading on his face here. Inktober is tough. So have you done it, Kevin? Have you done the whole Inktober challenge thing? I'd like to do it this year. I mean, I really wanted to do it last year, but it just didn't quite work out. Hopefully I'm not getting my head in the drawing too much here. I'm so blind. There we go. "31 horror characters." Well, that would be a cool way to do an Inktober. That's good. That would be. I could see having a good time with that. You know, when on a normal year, like October through Christmas, is kind of some of my busiest time. So I never really had time for it, and so I really tried to make time last year. I fell out of a stupid tree. I say I fell out of a tree, but the ladder I was standing on collapsed, and so it was like a Wile E. Coyote moment. I just kind of fell through the tree, and one of the branches that I had been pruning decided to stick itself through my palm and thumb. It's not pleasant. And of course on my drawing hand. Oh, you get to meet a few of the horror actors that you drew. That's really cool. That's really cool. You know, that's kind of one of the fun things about being in this industry is, especially at some of the smaller Comic-Cons, is the chance to meet and hang out with some of these celebrity types. And I'm definitely not any kind of like celebrity worshiper by any means, but you know, some of them are like genuinely cool people and have interesting things to say and talk about. And for better or worse, sometimes the slow Comic-Cons end up being the ones where you get to hang out with people the most, you know. I mean, at Star Wars Celebration, you never get the chance to hang out with Mark Hamill because he's busy the whole time. But at some other shows I've been to, especially before the new Star Wars trilogy, you know, we just hang out in the back green room and chat and talk. And I'm sure he doesn't know who I am or anything like that, but he was perfectly nice and friendly and had like genuinely geeky things to say, and was like a normal guy, you know. And that's kind of cool. Seems rare in this day and age. Who was my favorite meet? Oof, that's tough. Well, how about I just tell you a couple of stories instead of saying I have a favorite. So I've had a couple of interactions with Mark Hamill, and those were always good. The first one was years ago at San Diego Comic-Con. They used to have just a green room for the pros, and that meant everybody that was there professionally. And so that was before they let, like, you know, thousands of pros in, and before there were blogger pros and costumer pros and stuff like that. So I was in the green room getting ready for a panel, and Mark Hamill walked in and sat down at the same table as me and my friend, and we didn't bug him, but then he struck up a conversation with us and just had a nice little friendly chat. So that was fun. And then years later, I was at a Star Wars Celebration, and when I do those, I try to volunteer an hour each day in the family room. Try to draw for kids or entertain them or do projects with them or something, because I just kind of feel like it's a good thing to do. And I'm up in the family room, and I get a text message, and it's like, Mark Hamill wants to see you down at his signing table, like right now. You know, he's been signing your art print for the 40th anniversary of Star Wars art all day, and he wants to meet the artist, and he wants one. So I grabbed some art, I ran down there, and you know, his security took me to the front of the line, and he was super duper nice and pleasant, and you know, there's 900 people waiting in line for him, and he takes 5 minutes out of his day to talk to me and shake my hand and say thanks for making the art and sign one for me. And you know, he didn't have to do that, so that was kind of a cool interaction. Another really, Will Wheaton's another really great guy. For years and years, my wife and I would get to hang out with him and a few other people at some of the smaller cons. And again, I'm not trying to say that I'm his friend or I know him or he knows me. It's nothing like that. But when you're at a convention together and you get stuck in a little lunchroom or whatever they have for the guest, you know, you just chit chat, and he was nice. The same way with some of the Star Wars actors. Oh, you never got your 40th print from your friend? Oh man. Well, talk to me about that when I see you in person next time. All right, guys, what do we think about this one? See anything that's undone on this? That needs to be done? I kind of feel like this one's just about ready. I could probably keep going back to these eyes and just adding little extra bits of shadow under there to tighten them up, but otherwise I'm pretty happy with that. Oh, thank you, Quinch Press. All right, so I think we've got just one more for today. I'm going to do a Resident Evil. That should be fun. All right, well, there we go. Princess Bride. I think that one turned out pretty good. You guys know me, I can keep making little tweaks and stuff to it, but at some point I have to call it done. So let's move on to Resident Evil.